Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, hi. I thought some nice quiet music at the beginning might calm everyone down, but it's a very, very chatty group this evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hands up if it's your first time to an Oystercatchers Club event. Ooh, quite a few. Excellent. Well, you're very welcome. We wanted to talk about what's the real cost of digital transformation. One of the things that I found slightly alarming was a piece of work by McKinsey that said almost 60% of organizations have experienced a digital redesign within the last 2 years, but less than 25% of those designs have actually worked. I'd just like you to give us a bit of an idea of the size and scale of O2, because it's a really big company, isn't it?
It is quite big. I'm going to do it very succinctly.
Good.
25.5 million customers.
It's a lot of customers, isn't it? So you've been on a really huge journey with them on getting them to be much more digitally enabled, much more customer facing. Give me a kind of flavor of some of the things you've had to do there and maybe a success story.
In an industry that doesn't pride itself in kind of the rates of growth in digital that other industries have, we've managed to double the size of the digital business in 2 years, which is quite a stunning achievement, if I may say so myself. I think the easy bit, so going to the board and getting money for IT stuff and the kind of guts of digital transformation was easy. Doing the UX stuff around it and creating amazing experiences was more complicated, but it was still relatively easy. I think the reason why 10 years on we're still talking about digital transformation as this kind of unicorn that we're all trying to achieve is because I think the main hurdle there is all the millions of decisions that are made outside of the people that are thinking about digital that do not take digital into account and that are actually the ones that make digital make or break. But it's very difficult because when you tell people, do you want to transform digitally? Do you want to win in this space? And everybody says, yes, please, I want to. And then when you tell them what they have to do and how things have to change and you start kind of trying to break some of the sacred cows, then it becomes really difficult. And it's not one decision or two processes, or it's the whole company is to digitalize itself, and it is very difficult.
We'll come and talk on more about that in a minute. Ford, I am going to talk to you about radio, but first of all, I mean, it's kind of thanks to you that I was able to download my TV program and then look it on an iPad and on my aeroplane, because before radio, you were in charge of digital switchover in the UK, weren't you?
I was.
And I guess some of those learnings then is what you've got now. But this idea of being able to almost like create a movement and the change of not just a few customers or even a lot of customers, but a whole country. How do you do that? How challenging is that?
Well, hi Suki, and thanks for inviting me to be on the panel. I feel like a total imposter, I have to say. I have digital in my title. I don't think my digital expertise is going to be relevant to the brains, trusted marketing people you have in this room, unless you're building digital infrastructure on a national basis, unless you're trying to influence the government to give you their share of their investment, or indeed unless you've got problems with technology in your cars. Those sort of things I'm involved in and I can influence. And not all of those are. I don't have to go answers to all those questions either. So yeah, I mean, what we've been trying to do and are doing is it's a national movement. I mean, over a 10-year period, the digitization of the broadcasting system in the UK is a government priority. Because government obviously want, as part of their modern digital strategy, they want to see total connectivity. And part of that is shifting, broadcasting effectively onto digital platforms. They want to do it for a number of reasons. One, it saves money, it's more effective, it's just a better way of delivery. The other thing is it clears out spectrum, so people like you can develop more services. TV and radio are still ubiquitous. Over 90% of us do it every day in this country. And getting people to access those digitally is actually helping people's digital skills. And so that a lot of people, particularly older people who aren't necessarily digital literate, through the iPlayer, through the EPGs, through, as I said, digital transformation and broadcasting, they've learnt digital skills. So government's very, very supportive of this. Traditional marketing doesn't teach you how to truly change the behaviour of, if you like, what we might call the refuseniks or the laggards of our society. And what we learnt, and I didn't know about this before, was the third sector. If you look at the volunteer and charitable groups, if you look at an organisation like Age UK, which has 75,000 volunteers, serves 8 million people, a Citizens Advice Bureau, they have 25,000 volunteers. There's an organisation called Carers UK that serves 8 million people who help other people. So if you really want to change the behaviour, particularly of older people, someone who's entirely trusted, who goes into their home and advises and guides them, they were the people who ultimately got them to make the switch to digital television, because they're trusted and they actually do it for them.
Julian, we've been part of this, of setting up models within organisations where we said, right, we'll have a digital department, we'll have a marketing department. Digital needs to be on its own because it needs to focus and grow and enable the organisation to become digitally literate. But then that creates a whole load of silos. What do you do about that? How do you enable digital transformation to happen and break down those silos?
So you've got to imagine my journey over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So I came from a very large bank from Barclays. The digital department sat at the time in a completely different tower than the one you see in Canary Wharf. It sat as a standalone department of 200 or 300 people. And from there I moved across into, and actually at the time delivered something in the order of around about 55 to 60% of all of the sales for Barclays Bank, for retail bank. Moved across from there into Verdi, the split out of Lloyd's TSB, as the project was called, to a bank which was a lot smaller, had a decided attitude about the way it wanted to engage its customers, produce products, and make a stance on the high street. Digital sales was I remember the first week or two when they were starting to come out, it shocked the life out of me, because we were 23% of the sales. I thought, oh my God, we're a little pimple on the side of what the branch network is doing and telephony is doing. So over 3.5 years, we transformed that from 23 to 60% alongside what Barclays was. So we trebled it in 3 years. Yes, fantastic. Even though I say it myself.
Not a competition.
Not yet. So the way to do that was, and Barclays, I don't know where they stand at the moment, but I was talking to somebody this afternoon.
Do we have anyone from Barclays here this evening? Ooh. Hello. We might come back to you.
They've integrated the digital team a lot closer in than they were previously. And in fact, quite a lot of their functions are now integrated into marketing themselves. TSB still has its digital channel team that sits separately, but we work extremely closely with 2 other teams. We all sit on the same floor. So the marketing department and the products teams are within 10, 15 meters of me, and we walk around. We jointly plan on things, both on the products and the launches on a physical basis. We sit right next to them. The other thing that we did to be able to ensure that the transformation was different from what you see in other banks is we made a conscious effort about the type of people that we hired in to the organisation, especially within digital. We're looking for a type of person and a skill set. We're not looking at a background and experience. So my first hires into the team, I had somebody from the prison service, which stopped other people leaving the organisation. It was fantastic. We also had somebody who came across from who'd been making games themselves and brought them into the organisation. We had somebody from collectibles and so on. A conscious effort not to have people with a financial services background.
Dan, so I introduced you as a kind of agitator and somebody who's really shaking up the market.
That's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. So
Blimey.
can you talk to us a bit about some of the clients, maybe an example or two of the clients that you work with in this kind of digital transformation way and how you work with them?
So I think the way that we work with them has probably been the same for us since the beginning, but I guess from their perspective it's changed in terms of the way that they purchase media, essentially. So the companies that we're going into, clients like TSB, it's not us that's driving this change, but there is a shift in media towards programmatic media buying. And I know that that's like a word that's thrown around, so I might try and define that quickly for those that don't know what it is. It took me a little while because people say it and then you're like too scared to ask, oh, what does that mean? But it's okay. Programmatic advertising is any advertising that's not bought via an IO, so it's bought in an auction system live, in a live environment. So it's something that you can bid on and that you can transact on. What's fascinating about the programmatic space is that it's the closest thing that we've got to the economics 101 perfect competition model, i.e. there are no barriers to entry really, or very low barriers to entry. There's kind of perfect information, and it's the ultimate bidding system. So you go in and there is no difference to Bob with a computer versus multinational conglomerate media agency that has purchased loads and loads of media before. So it's leveled the playing field, and it's meant that the way that we actually buy that media has changed. And what we're starting to see is that trend is encroaching on the very traditional areas, the TVs, the radios, and we'll probably speak about that later, but even outdoor can now be purchased programmatically, and all that means is that someone can bid for that inventory rather than purchase it up front, which has all kinds of fascinating implications in terms of how you can target people and how personalized advertising can become. So exciting for me rather than scary.
And it is exciting, but I think one of the things and the themes of that, and one of the issues around digital transformation is the impact that it has on people. Mm-hmm. And I think we've had a lot of conversation. I've been at the Media Guardian Summit today, talking about the impact of just the change in these kind of models. Does it mean for you that a whole swathe of our industry are going to lose their jobs?
Yes, to a degree. Yes. Sorry about that, everyone. Most of you won't be here in a year's time, I'm afraid to say.
Yeah, thanks. Just to start this evening on a really joyous note.
Our jobs will change, but they always have. In fact, the stuff that we do today is nothing like, a Victorian. In the Victorian era, they wouldn't have predicted that we would have people called UX designers or Twitter feed managers or anything of the like. In fact, the previous generation wouldn't have believed it if you had told them that. So I think it's inevitable. It's not something that any of us are controlling. That's part of what's going to happen. The roles that our children have, or even the next 10 years, won't be roles that I can tell you what they are now. I have a good idea that you might have an algorithm manager or a robot manager or someone that organizes groups of robots. But that's okay. I don't think it necessarily means that we're losing jobs. It just means that our jobs are changing. It doesn't mean that we're losing creativity either. It just means that we're creative in a different way.
Tete, how have you brought people along on the journey? Have you had to upskill, change people within that journey?
So within the team helping me with the transformation is not dissimilar to what Julian was talking about. It's less about background and it's more about bringing a set of skills up and an attitude towards things. And you kind of have to have people that have a little bit of the underdog syndrome and really want to go for it and are driven and are proactive and sort of entrepreneurial type people. And you get those people, you give them something to shoot for, and they'll inevitably go for it, and that's just brilliant. And it is putting yourself, in my case, in the role of the kind of fundraiser / PR manager and go and evangelize about what this could mean for other people, both rationally and in their own experiences.
So you use that word evangelize. Is that how you see that part of your job?
Yes. I think there is a little bit of that.
Someone has to really believe and be passionate, and you have to kind of take people with you. And in what we do, it's not like being a CMO or where you've got lots of marketing levers at your fingertips. You actually have to move the whole sort of landscape, the universe, all at once. So whether it be retailers, encouraging retailers to train staff and to stock and promote the right products, manufacturers to develop the right technologies and to bring them to market, broadcasters to publicize, but also broadcasters to launch new stations and to promote the stations, and then obviously government to invest. So at the end of the day, you need all of these pieces to move at the same pace. And we've got to a point now where 90% of all new cars do have digital radio in them. We're about to see a total digital transformation of all motor cars. And we've seen it in the home, and we know how fragmented and cluttered the media landscape is in the home. Cars is like a haven at the moment, but that's all going to change.
I think coming at it from the perspective of a bricks and mortar business that is trying to convert itself into a digital business, you have an even bigger baseline challenge in the sense that, you know, mobile, digital, social, that all of these ecosystems that have grown in the last 5 years are not and will not, in my humble opinion, replace the assisted interactions that our customers have with people behind the phones and in the stores. And then you're not designing an end-to-end digital customer experience. You're designing an experience that has to encompass all of those ecosystems and understand how to optimize and not only make it easy and pleasant, but also delight customers in that very complex ecosystem. And we've been talking about it for 10 years, and nobody has cracked it yet. And I think that's a very good indicator of how hard it's doing that.
Everyone's on a digital transformation, but some people fail. And some people have to start again. So if you're going to do it, you need to get it right. You need the right people on board to do that.
Yeah, well, as McKinsey said, 25%, only 25% are actually achieving at the moment. So we've seen and talked this evening about a number of aspects of digital transformation. So, you know, the importance of having a purpose, actually going at it, being relentless, having a vision, bringing your people along the way, making sure we get rid of silos. A big round of applause for my panel this evening. Thank you. Thank you.